唉，如果我们能随便抽起来给大家自信的话，
最后一场了。
WTR 也不用去。
如果我随便在那里看直播，我就可以抽几台来助助兴。我 WTO 我还出去卖什么屁股呀？我自己掏了不就完了吗？
对啊。
你想想，我们 WTO 出去这个讨点赞助，这个多可怜。
那咋办嘛？好了，今天的最后一场波3的出现战啊。
Maru is very good at changing it up in rematches of best of 3. It's a lot of times whatever data is thrown out from him doesn't really matter.
你们是真不知道我们 WTO 的要点赞助有多可怜，多困难，多可怜。
那没办法，这个事情就
今年 WTO 马上又要开了，4月份就开 WTO 了，压力挺大的，兄弟。
It's not my only anxiety, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Did you ever get ladder anxiety at all?
So this is funny, but when I used to play full time, I never had it whatsoever. But when I the first time I came back and started playing after having not played for a couple of years, I felt anxious because I was like, I'm losing the people that
又去找他有讨饭，跑不了了呀。米哈游给赞助的兄弟已经离职了，他已经不在米哈游了，找不到人了。要换一家公司去讨饭。
I was one of those players that I was on a pro team. I was on a couple pro teams before, but when I was here on Prime, when Prime was competing in StarCraft 2 Pro League, I was one of those players that would do really well in the in-house ladder rankings where we do the private tournaments.
Right.
That would put me in a spot in Pro League, and then I would go to Pro League and just get completely smashed. I would get so nervous on stage.
因为赞助我们被开除，毛？
那不是，那不是。
肯定别人有其他地方去了呀，这种肯定是，对不对？
Even now, like if I play against Marine Lord in a game, I'm gonna be like,
哎呀，这种东西肯定
换家公司看有没有机会去讨米。
So I mean, it's something I can deal with, but I've never really been able to get over that hump. I think that's true for a lot of people. There are some players.
I think you just get good at feeling anxious and playing well.
Yeah,
it's like you just kind of deal with that.
I mean, some people are just gamers too. Like they can just handle the pressure.
Yeah.
VS 开局啊，这把马入还是出的导弹车。
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk to the GSL players.
3个长兵不怕。
A lot of the same people over and over. A lot of them say they just don't get nervous at all.
Yeah, but
because they've done it so many times.
But even then, playing from home is so much easier. Remember, I think it was a GSL or 2 ago. It was during monsoon season when Gumiho played, and
还是出个导弹车防守，然后空投地雷。我们看一下这盘克拉斯会不会做一些改变？
赞助10万，兄弟，你先办个牌子好不好？他妈牌子都没有，你就要赞助10万？他妈，你先办个6块钱的牌子，你妈的展示一下实力，不是兄弟不信你啊！你先办个6块钱的牌子，展示一下实力。
说的没什么错啊。
About as standard as it gets here in terms of opening. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Maru throw down a third command center after the second barracks at some point.
感谢邱老先奶 QZL 国自然不重的一个飞机，感谢兄弟。
感谢兄弟。
But if this goes unscouted, there is pretty good chance that Maru is able to get something done with this.
Yeah, he is going to go by. Does not get spotted. 2 widow mines in the medevac. Marines slowly crawling across the map Raven being produced. And we really need to watch where
来了
Widow Mines go and how well they perform here.
还是凤凰巨象啊，打来打去还是凤凰巨象转航母。
他就这一套可能是最稳的，开始觉得。
去搞那个嘛，那个他无限在那边上上下下。
Yeah, a pretty good move, honestly. Just leave one and just keep burrowing and unburrowing, and just basically buy out enough time.
反杀。
Oracle coming in here.
导弹车呢？导弹车呢？
Thing to defend it all right now. He might have to chuck an auto turret down, yeah, just to try to drive this out. But of course, the Oracle could just switch.
这波其实有点伤啊，至少6、7个农民，还不够，还要杀？
还要杀吗？马老师啥情况？哎，这8个农民呢，有点伤了吧？
还以为我的兄弟，我的。
趁着斗鱼股价便宜，把斗鱼买了，以后赞助就有。
我如果能买得起斗鱼，我还缺这点赞助吗？我靠！
我就把买斗鱼这个钱拿去理财，不就已经可以把比赛做起来了？
是啊。
照出来。
Siege tanks in production, and probably a +1 stem timing here on 2 bases. Now we have seen Classic defend these kind of pushes quite well so far today against Byun, but I don't think any of the builds that Byun went for were going to converge on a point like Maru's is in terms of power. This is going to be a little bit stronger than the pushes that Classic had to deal with in the past, but yeah, so far the early game for Classic has been really good. And oh my goodness, catching these 2 Cyclones too.
哎，太漂亮！
They almost got it. Oh,
they almost got the Oracle.
That was sick. Yeah, I was going to say, I was so confident he was going to get that. So yeah, there's going to be a lot. It's going to pack much more punch.
本来这个还是要靠巨象来顶第一波，防第一波。
So there should be an organic vulnerability here.
最好是第一波人就马路冲的时候 ，Classic 完美防下来，这样的话他就有时间去转大河，转这个航母了。
对。
I
actually thought this is what Byun's play was going to look like, to be honest. Today.
Yeah, me too. I think I like this style of approach a little bit more than the harassment style that Byun went for, especially in game 1 of that
李
series.
铁受贿5089万，当庭认罪，择期宣判。
Mara perhaps respecting the Phoenix a little bit too much, and the Colossus count is going to be 3, I think. By the time Mara gets cross map with thermal lance. I think I might have even seen Maru.
这都什么东西啊？
就这波。
好了，来了这里。
I think he's playing like this is the previous game, and this is not. This is going to be a hit that is going to possibly be a fatal blow for Classic. He's going to gun down.
先把你这个陷阱先锁了。3个巨象了，不一定打得进去。坦克架好，锁巨象，2个锁了。 第3个没有锁了，核电站点着，就顶在这个位置，能不能把坦克摸了？但好像他摸不了，不过3个巨象还在，问题不大。
这坦克就2个呀，其实3个巨象 A 上去也就
刷一排叉 L 上去吧，应该。
他主要有围巾，有4个围巾。
But how do you get the Stalkers in range to deal with the Vikings? Maru's going to slowly encroach this position. There is no more battery overcharge. It's really just the Colossi here for Classic, and as Maru starts to tighten his grip in the sky and inch closer and closer, especially with turrets and bunkers. While the initial fight was really good for Classic, the staying power here for Maru is intense.
There's 2 Tempests about to come out here. Right now,
第2个核电站应该等不了了。
I think ideally you'd want to have some more Vikings to try to, hard counter.
这一波围巾，哎，多起来了围巾。
但他打不动那个，现在巨象有点扫不动光头了。
巨象现在主要站不住。
对，风暴出来了，他扫不动光头，就直接把你顶死。
你没
风暴也打不过围巾呀。马老师还是赢了呀，这拳好硬啊！
马老师还是有经验啊。
I'm not sure how Classic has been able to breach this, and I mean, even the Vikings coming here on the right side, he can't mine from that base.
李铁带队成绩还可以。李铁带队成绩可以吗？不是被淘汰了吗？在世界杯预选赛。
He's going to come down. He's going to wipe out this base over here. All Maru has to do now is make a 3rd command center and play from ahead.
这个3矿打得很关键啊！你打掉这个3矿的话，基本上 Classic 就没有钱去出航母了。他现在这些这个就是风暴，其实没有想象中那么强的。
反正马老师2矿一波的嘛 ，Classic 觉得还能打。你这波吃了出来，但外面的矿已经掉了呀。马老师回去开矿了，开3矿了。主力只要护着3矿开得起来就行。国内的成绩都是买的，哎，应该多给他点时间，说不定国际上也能买。时间给少了，哎，可惜了，还没摸清国际上什么形势就进去了。
On a 2-base economy, you cannot support a lot of gateway production and also the 2 chrono boosted Stargates pumping out Tempest at this rate.
Yeah.
So up until that 3rd and 4th base get running here for Classic, it's really just going to be the high-tech units that he's relying on.
Classic 现在好像没办法，他只能够爆这个风暴啊！现在。但马入这个4倍围巾，你待会儿风暴打不过呀。
国，哎呀，别谈了，我跟你说，国足还不是就是那个什么，换了一茬又一茬，换汤不换药，先把范志毅的圣经背一遍。
It is possible for Classic to recover from this.
Oh yeah, I think he has a good chance, but.
哎呦，没调整吗 ？Classic， 哎，没操作吗？哦，回来了，兵回来了。
Moments like that where he sets that up. So Maro's going up onto 4 bases. He's got enough Vikings that like he can basically take the Tempest head on. Maybe he needs a little bit more Vikings, but he's getting close.
I think not anymore. I mean, there are so many Tempest on the map right now.
Yeah, he might.
开完发布会下定创世版，你是不是水军啊，兄弟？
We do have a good number, 15 in total.
都刷到我们直播间来了。
Again, I feel like Classic should be
这你妈！ 你他妈看完直播你就下定了，我怎么感觉你是个水军呢？
要打吗？这个
直接风暴甩起来，这个风暴有点多啊！他就说实话，围巾如果
他主要没几个追猎，
对他追猎在下面如果顶住的话，对方不是那么好冲的。
哎呦，巨像，哎呦，擦一下。
I mean, the Tempest are doing their job. They are dealing with the Vikings for now. It's 14 Vikings to 7 Tempest, but as that Viking production continues,
不是10点才能下吗？对，
对，刷早了呀，兄弟，还有1个小时呢。但是我们直播间别来刷了，我们直播间买不起。
我也觉得，
我们直播间买不起，别来我们这里刷。
都是一帮穷哥们儿，好吧？
对啊，我们直播间都是穷哥们儿，买不起，别来刷了啊。
Eventually, the Vikings will just be better at fighting. It is kind of the same dynamic as a Corruptor. Is the anti-air unit is going to win this situation eventually? They just have a little bit more firepower.
Well, Maru continues to grow. He's going to reach out onto that gold base, and you know it's a different game than what they played before, but there's a lot of the same ideas. The dilemma for the Protoss is it's harder to.
什么叫嘲笑水友？你要让我说你大富大贵是吧？他妈的，你这弹幕
直接追！
你有这个要求，我也可以满足你。
根本就站不住，完了
呀！这个围巾数量破临界点了，破临界点了，站不住了。
围巾，你妈这打风暴真的打儿子一样。
他这个必须要有闪电才压得住围巾。 神族没有闪电是不可能压得住围巾。
哪来闪电？
对啊，我就说嘛，没有闪电是压不住围巾的。被马老师一波围巾直接压爆了。
He looks untouchable. Versus Maro, it looks like it's a bad technique.
Well, it felt like every single game he played against Beyond, you count the starport units, and they're dismally low. And then you go against Maru, and he adds the second starport really quickly. He's reactoring out Vikings nonstop. His army on the ground, he had almost no bio at the end of that. It was just a small group of units.
就大富大贵来呀！
He was investing so many resources in just expanding his economy.
这兄弟可以啊！ 这个叫什么麦田？我看看那个。叫什么稻田麦子？稻田麦子94742，果然大富大贵，有东西啊！
有东西的呀，兄弟们！
稻田麦子有东西。
Best of 3 continues on. Morrow beat Classic the first time. Question is, can Classic come back in the revenge match? So far, not looking like it. Morrow wins 1 more game. He moves on. Classic has to win 2 more, and he will advance to the round of 4.
对，马卡拉这个还是干不过马入啊，
打不过马老师还是厚重，说实话。哎，孙哥，我冰农练出来了，今天。真的不骗你。
好。好，
冰农练出来。今天那个托普森还你妈的专门加急出了一期冰农视频，估计昨天看我打了一晚上。今天他加急出了一个中单冰农的视频。
那我就问你，今天你中单会不会被打爆？
不会，我今天打了3盘，输了1盘，但是也是 SMVP。
妈个，真的，我每天晚上都在你妈的经历这种。
但今天我要早点睡，今天我打几盘我就睡了，孙哥，因为我今天
太好了，
我昨天晚上他妈的。睡得很难受，满脑子都是那个冰农那个戳。他
妈的，那是你的问题啊！
然后我做梦就戳不死别人，你知道吗？就感觉在刮痧，好难受。你妈大半夜还醒。
黄哥早点睡吧，岁数大了，注意身体啊！
我今天打2盘就睡了，好吧？你们继续打。
好。
And then you can tell, okay, he's making 2 at a time, 4 at a time, 6 at a time. You know, just you have an idea of the tempo of the Viking development, and so you can try to match it or outdo it, or completely duck it and go to I don't know, abandon the tempo.
看看这把克拉斯克会不会？我觉得克拉斯克把那套航母用出来了，就是在最后输。
他用不出来。
我说你就用出来，最后就算输，对吧？也不给自己留遗憾。
他现在最大的问题是，就他这套战术是要第一波要顶得住人族，但他现在有点顶不住。
I mean, the blink was really late there, and he didn't have the money for the stalkers or the gateway explosion.
Right.
He didn't have the money to go into a warp prism and go for counter harassment. So he just kind of got locked into this position where he just had to keep making tempos to try and survive. I feel like if Classic is able to navigate the early and the mid game a little bit better here in game number 2, if he wants to play the same style, then there is a chance that he's able to survive. And I don't think it'll look like him just amassing Tempests. It'll be a much more nuanced army with a lot of variety, a lot more counterplay against the Vikings. And that's the reason why his first series against Morrow was so close, is because he was able to develop that way.
马入反正永远都是先反正装备枪兵，然后带着导弹，他先去压一波。他打克拉这个也是有经验的。强行换一个啊，这盘上来出凤凰，懂了，凤凰巨象。
Now Morrow with the 2-base play, I don't think he cycles that back in again in the best of 3. I feel like that's he went for the 2-base style because in their first game he went for 3-base, and so basically Classic wasn't ready. Now Classic didn't die to the push initially, but he lost his bases and Morrow got the game to where it needed to be so he could close it out. So what does he do this time? Does he go back into the macro style? Again, if we do have that eventuality of carriers, it does seem like Morrow already knows how to deal with that. So he should have like all the tools necessary to hang.
I think we might have Morrow actually going for a siege tank push again. He's making the liberators. It's a very
马老师怎么进攻了？这波
看一下
It's a much earlier push.
Yeah. Absolutely.
看到凤凰其实就不用去管他了，凤凰这一波很凶啊！这坦克 坦克解放者直接压制，
他就打个 timing 嘛，他要推一波。
对，再拖3-4个农民出去，然后直接到你门口修地堡。他坦克接上去了，这样的话你就看不到。
Getting a pretty sizable army up before that third goes down. He is not trying to rush it by any means, but that could be a good thing for him against Maru's play, especially considering he's already throwing down the robotics bay here on 2 bases. But this push for Maru has a lot of aggressive potential. Keep in mind, this was double gas before expansion, so it's going to hit faster than usual. The tech is, you know, it's step ahead of where it would normally be, and you can see that in the workers tab.
哇，拖那么多农民啊
Here we go.
The boys have been pulled.
Viking production already begun, by the way, behind this. So we're going to have a Liberator, 2 or 3 siege tanks reinforcing.
Is there anything Maru can't do?
完了呀，3皇开起来了呀，那你这个怎么办？完全没有侦查，这凤凰也没有侦查，完了。2比0了。
刚看到，
没了，已经没了。
第一时间就把核电站点了吧？
丢一下，
这不点吗？核电站？
他不急啊，坦克慢慢推进，推进的同时修地堡呀。来嘛，2个不修也不怎么样嘛。打个毛，
打不动了。
被完爆，修就好了，这地堡都不用下。
I think that might just be it. I mean, Maru just... You're going to go for the same thing again, aren't you, Classic? Yeah. I know exactly what to do.
He's got a million different ways to kill a Protoss. Maru shelling this Nexus. I just don't think that there's a mathematically, you know, a number of units that Classic could muster to deal with this.
I don't think so, man. Maru shows us in the
直接往上怼，主要有个解放者，这解放者没法解决。
被战术击倒了。马老师还是厚重。其实小蜜蜂签马老师绝对是赚的。
那是嘛？
马老师打比赛还是比较稳定的。你说马老师石油杯进8强是不是感觉妥妥的？
没有什么悬念，好不好？
对吧？马老师、大可、Cyro 这几个都还是比较稳定的。Classic 白忙活，那没办法，他碰到马老师那怎么办吧？呆住了，摇头了，中战术啊，这是没办法。
输给马老师也没什么，你是打不过马老师。
他今天中了个大核弹，那么是打不过的呀。
那是啊，
今天中了那么大个核弹，
多开心啊！这中的。
对呀，今天来晚的观众没有看到名场面。1颗核弹炸100人口，致敬骚了。兄弟们来晚了，6点多的时候中了颗大核弹。回放一下，切片还没出来，还没出啊？有切片了吗？已经。孙哥，你找一下呗。
这个
我来找一下，我找到了，给你们看一眼，好吧
？OK。
我来找一下切片。
Really impressive. I do think Classic could have handled that better. I think when you have a disruptor making you buy time, you don't attack in. Oh, go ahead.
All right, interview with Maru. Congratulations, Maru. He says thank you.
拆完了，这幽灵横行无阻。
Well, tonight's series. You've been playing a lot of TVP today.
这里，孙哥，我发你。
啊。
哎，不对，我重新那个复制一下。
Was that prepared or was that on the fly?
我复制一下给你啊，等一下。
Mara says it was a spontaneous decision in the second series of these timing.
这个。
OK， EMP， 我靠，又打到了。
等
一下啊，又被 EMP， 这电完全闪电完全。
他是没看到这颗核弹是吧？他还专门拐过去吃的。
他不会中核弹吧？完了，我靠！
可能。
他在搞笑吗
？100人口炸水
爆
河。
炸了！这你妈！我把它放过来，真的。爽。